Ma va, ok, ora va. Ora va. Non avevo schiacciato il button. Bentrovati amici, ma soprattutto amiche del Bike&Raft. Buon pomeriggio, ringrazio subito Giovanni che si è già infilato nel gruppo Telegram, bravo, subito, immediatamente, no? Come una biscia infernale, e si è già sviluppato, guarda, ha già fatto un upgrade, vecchio cuore, immediatamente, in un attimo è diventato un'arma micidiale. Bravo, bravo Giovanni, quindi non ti dico di venire nel gruppo perché sei già nel gruppo, e quindi benvenuti a tutti quanti. Mi raccomando, niente spoiler, che sono usciti, non fate scherzetti, non giocate con il fuoco. Eh, Vedevate il labiale, lo so, il labiale era palese che stavo sbroccando come una scimmia. Allora, saluto Gabriele, Danny, vediamo chi c'è, Gian, Mattia, Massimiliano, Dario, Francesca. Chi c'è? Giulio, Giovanni, Chris, Deidara, Luca, Francesco, Nicolò, Renato, Roberto, Ave a te, Simox, Nirius, Marzio, il buon Itz, il buon Gabriele Lori, e poi Mike Di Mese e Astra Pellegrino, e poi gli altri in silenzio che tacciono, anche Leonardo, Giamaica, eccoli qua, Marco, Gabriele, tutti quanti, perfetto. Allora, oggi ci dedichiamo, anima e corpo, a Barbanera. Perché? Perché ovviamente poi lui è l'uomo del momento, no? Visto il capitolo 1063, e quindi ho detto, perché non fare un trittico infernale, no? Come quelli che si facevano nel 1500, questi quadri composti di tre sessioni, questi trittici infernali, su Barbanera. E quindi ho guardato l'internet e ho selezionato tre perle meravigliose. Ovviamente i nostri candidati sono Marshall di Preach, un classico. Grazie Davide per esserti riabbonato, fratello. Poi c'è il maestro Ara, chiaramente, il maestro Ara. E poi c'è un ultimo che si chiama Plot Armor, questo canale. Allora vi dico. C'è il buon Marshall di Preach che ha 28.000 iscritti. Oara ne ha 687.000 e questo Plot Armor ne ha 559.000. Pertanto, visto che non voglio prendere questa decisione da solo, approfitto delle opzioni di YouTube per fare una cosa. Vi faccio un brevissimo sondaggio con voi, quindi ora dovete votare nel sondaggio e dovete decidere voi immediatamente chi è la vittima sacrificale con cui iniziamo. Allora, datemi solo un secondo, perché mi è venuto in mente di farlo adesso, non potevo pensarci prima, no, perché come sempre io fino alle 17 non faccio niente, cioè io proprio faccio la pipì mentre c'è il countdown, faccio cose mentre c'è il countdown, perché prima non ho tempo di farle, o semplicemente non ne ho voglia. Bravo Mattia, che ti sei riabbonato, 20 mesi, tanta roba. Allora, eccolo qua, sondaggio, avvia un sondaggio, quindi con chi, in che ordine andiamo? E quindi vi scrivo Preach, secondo Oara e terzo Plot Armor. Quindi chiedi alla community, ora potete votare e scegliere chi è l'ordine. Poi in base agli ordini vi do un minuto, quindi alle 17:11 mi fermerò e andrò in ordine. Quindi vedete voi, scegliete voi, decidete voi l'ordine di questa battaglia. Decidete voi. Beh, vi do ancora un minutino, sono già 11, quindi aspetto ancora un minutino. Sta vincendo Plot Armor, vediamo. Quindi a 0:12, no, a 17:12 mi fermo. 17:12 mi fermo. Avete ancora quanto? Vediamo. Ancora 45 secondi per votare. Oara e Plot Armor stanno contendendo il primo posto. Attenzione. Quindi muovetevi. Avete ancora quasi 30 secondi per votare. Oara sta vincendo. Dai, siete in 111 e solo in 55 hanno votato. Vergognatevi. Schiacciate il bottone, maledetti. Schiacciate il bottone, maledetti. Dai, su. Votate, sta vincendo Ara, 63 voti su 111 che siete. Muovetevi il ditone. Muovete il ditone. Mancano 5 secondi, 4, 3, 2, 1, stop. Perfetto. E quindi, vedete, O'Hara al 45%, Plot Armor al secondo e Preach al 19esimo. Pertanto, quindi in teoria dovremmo cominciare con O'Hara, ma io la gioco al contrario. Quindi cominciamo con Preach, secondo Plot Armor e terzo O'Hara. Molto bene. Allora, cominciamo con Marshall di Preach e vediamo che cosa succede. Vediamo che cosa succede. Che dice Marco CB? O'Hara alla fine, il meglio va sempre per ultimo. Va bene, perfetto. Allora, switchiamo e vediamo. Vediamo che cosa succede. Partiamo con Marshall di Preach. Vediamo che cosa ci racconta il maestro.
Chapter 441, Blackbeard tells Ace that once you die, nothing else matters. Chapter 577,
Ah no, aspetta, se no voi non sentite, non capite quello che dice. Devo mettere sempre i sub, sottotitolazzi. Generazione traduzione credita inglese, italiano, ecco qua. Ci siamo? Pronti? Ripartiamo, via.
Chapter 441, Blackbeard tells Ace that once you die, nothing else matters. Chapter 577, Blackbeard screams, "This is my age." Chapter 578, Blackbeard says, "This is amazing. I feel like I can control the whole world." Let me ask you one thing. What do these three quotes have in common? The thing they have in common is that they all tell us one of the biggest Blackbeard mysteries, which is what his master plan is. The same master plan...
vi ricordo che il titolo di questo video, che non ve l'ho detto, è Rip Law. È un video addirittura di un mese fa, e quindi comunque aveva già anticipato cose, il maestro aveva già visto là dove era difficile guardare. We finally know, quindi finalmente sappiamo il sogno di Barbanera, e ragazzi è veramente disturbante, e qualche tu anche emotional. No, attenzione.
plan that he's hinted at so many times throughout the story. I reread every single line, every single chapter that Blackbeard was in just to solve this mystery, and when I realized...
Ha letto tutti i capitoli, ha letto tutto per risolvere questo mistero.
That's what he's planning on doing. My jaw dropped as I lost my mind. This is officially part 3 to the 5-part God Valley series, so make sure you like the
La
video.
God Valley series.
Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because the next 2 parts are going to continuously get crazier and better. With all that being said, let's get into it. Throughout the entire story, Blackbeard always talks about this grand plan that he has. We see him tell Sengoku that from the beginning, he planned on becoming a 7 warlord just to break out the prisoners of Impel Down. This grandmaster plan of his seems to be going well as of right now. According to him, fate has led him to everything he's done, but the main question would be, what even is this plan leading to? We know he's already gotten everything he's wanted from the prisoners, his territories, and of course, his devil fruits. But what is this all leading to?
Chi è sta tipa? Che pensaci. Che metto un pochino più veloce perché sennò qua finiamo l'anno prossimo.
Well, I came to the belief that Blackbeard's dream and plan is to become the king of the world while running a world...
che fantasia. È arrivato il genio, no? È un po' sfocato, avete ragione. Adesso c'era un filtro sopra, adesso lo tolgo. Così non vi dà fastidio. Allora. Ecco qua. No, questo è così, nessuno. Ecco qua, così è normale. Così è normale. Cioè, più o meno. Sì, dovrebbe essere normale. Filtri, chiave, cromati. Ecco qua. Perfetto, così è a posto. Scusatemi, non mi ero accorto che c'erano i filtri.
Freedom and anarchy. Not only this, but also to live as this king in his own world for eternity. You see, Blackbeard always brings up how after someone dies, it's all over for them. He doesn't really seem to care about things like will, the afterlife, or even honor.
Ma che cazzo? Ma scusatemi. Ma scusatemi. Cioè, dove cacchio eravamo arrivati qua? Cioè, lui, perché fanno queste
You see, Blackbeard always brings up how
Barbanera tira fuori sempre come dopo la morte di qualcuno e dappertutto. Vabbè, questo non so che cazzo stessi. Per loro non sembra davvero preoccuparsi di cose come la vita nell'aldilà o addirittura dell'onore. Ma che cazzo l'ha detto? Dove l'ha letto? In che parte del... Ha detto, la premessa è che lui ha detto che ha riletto tutto per fare questa teoria. Cosa ha letto? La carta igienica.
No, this is true because when he fights Ace, he offers Ace his hand and tells him to join him. After Ace rejects his offer,
Giovanni, io purtroppo One Piece l'ho cominciato a leggere già ai tempi di Thriller Bark. Quindi poi ovviamente ho letto successivamente Savaudi, Impel Down, Marineford e quant'altro. Quindi già sapevo, sono già tornato indietro nel momento in cui io poi ho scoperto di Teach. Quindi già lo sapevo, non ho avuto l'effetto wow su questa cosa, purtroppo.
Blackbeard says, survival is the only thing that matters in the world, or in the Shonen Jump translation, once you're dead, nothing else matters. So as you can see, Blackbeard truly only cares about worldly values and about surviving for as long as he can. This truly ties in with almost everything that we know about him. For example, he stayed with Whitebeard for as long as he could, to survive for as long as he could. He doesn't do anything unless he knows he'll succeed, because he doesn't want to take the risk of dying. And lastly, he gets scared while in the face of death. Take a look at his face and reaction when Whitebeard is about to destroy him. He legitimately looks scared because he is. His biggest fear is to die, which is why there are times when we see his
Cazzo l'ha detto? La sua più grande paura è morire. Magari poi è vero, eh. Ma chi l'ha detto? Cioè, il punto è, chi l'ha detto? Io devo fare... Allora, bisogna arrivare a 200 abbonati, ne mancano tipo 5 o 6, se non sbaglio, per fare la nuova emoji. Chi cazzo l'ha detto? Chi l'ha detto? Chi l'ha detto? Cioè, io voglio fare l'emoji, chi l'ha detto? Abbonatevi perché voglio fare l'emoji, chi l'ha detto? Porca miseria. La porca miseria però c'è. Porca miseria c'è.
flip from being confident to acting scary. Another thing that could prove that Blackbeard wants to rule the world for eternity is that he cares about his era. We see that part of his plan is to begin his era, which is probably leading to maintaining his era. After he kills Whitebeard and steals his devil fruit abilities, he says that the era of Whitebeard is over now and that all the old generation is obsolete. He and his generation are replacing the old ones. With this logic, he should know that eventually time will pass by and another generation will pass him. So how do you prevent this from happening? Well, you not only have to remain the strongest,
Sono sti cadaveri che passano tutte le
but
volte.
you'd also have to be able to live forever. Blackbeard has a vision of the world and shows us a bit of this vision at the end of Marineford. There's a scene where he screams out to everyone to hear, quote, "Show it to the world, to all the boring, peace-loving citizens, to the Marines, to the world government, and to all the pirates out there. This world's future has been decided. Yes, from now on, this is my age." This dialogue shows us exactly
Quanto è figo. Quando si è dovuto mettere a petto nudo in Pell Down per lavare la camicia. Pazzesco. Pazzesco.
what Blackbeard wants to do and what he believes the world should be. First off, notice how in the beginning of this speech, he calls the peace-loving citizens boring. This shows that he views simple peace as a boring thing. He seems to want a world that is full of chaos, anarchy, out of order, and with all of this himself at the very top of it. I'd also expect he just wants a world full of criminal activity and whatever he thinks
Perché? Quindi io mi aspetterei anche che voglia solo un mondo pieno di attività criminali e qualunque cosa pensi sia divertente. Perché? Perché? Cioè, perché relegare un personaggio del genere a semplicemente una strozzata? Perché non sei capace di fare due pensieri? Perché non sei capace di mettere in linea due pensieri? Cioè, perché? Boh, vabbè.
he calls his island a pirate paradise and that it ought to be fun. Blackbeard probably wants to make the whole world
Quindi Rufy semplicemente, siccome l'altra faccia della medaglia, siccome lui vuole mettere tutti nel caos, Rufy vuole tutto l'ordine, no?
his pirate paradise and a place that suits him. Another thing that could prove that Blackbeard wants a world of anarchy and basically as a whole pirate paradise has to do with Luffy. We all know that Luffy and Blackbeard are two sides.
Eccolo qua! Aspetta. Eccola qua. Eccola qua. Questa frase è praticamente il mantra di tutti. Lo userò anch'io. Lo voglio usare anche e io adesso ve lo dico in anteprima, sto preparando il totale tombale su Teach, come ho fatto con Law, come ho fatto con Shanks, come ho fatto con gli altri ovviamente, e quindi lo userò anch'io le due facce della stessa medaglia, perché ormai non devo esimermi da usare questa cosa.
When they first meet, Oda makes it pretty obvious that they are the same except also the complete opposite. So if this is true, then what if it's the same thing with their dreams? We know that Luffy's dream is to become the king of the pirates because he wants to be the most free man. So what would be the complete opposite of this? Well, the complete opposite of this would be that Blackbeard would want to become the king of the pirates to rule over the world. Another possibility that would be the complete opposite of Luffy's dream would be that Blackbeard may want to become the king of the world to make the whole world free from an anarchic perspective. Either one fits in my opinion. I also think he definitely wants to become the king of the world and not limit himself to king of the pirates because he's just the type of guy that always goes a step further. For example, even though he already had arguably the strongest devil fruit ever, he had to take it a whole step further and get the strongest paramecia ever. So why would he become the king of the pirates but not go to the next step, which is the king of the world? In chapter 440, Blackbeard mentions to Ace that he will become the king of the pirates, which shows that it's definitely a part of his plan. I think he will attempt to do so, but the reason for this is to ultimately become the king of the world. In fact,
La banalità. Ma la banalità. Perché? Perché deve essere... Cioè, magari è vero, io vi ripeto, io non posso sapere se è vero o non è vero, ma io vi chiedo, da lettori dell'opera, da lettori e comunque fan dell'opera, l'obiettivo di Luffy è diventare dei pirati perché poi realizzare il suo sogno, no? Il suo sogno è ancora sconosciuto e non sappiamo bene dove vuole andare a parare, però delle idee ce le siamo fatte. E Barbanera vuole diventare dei pirati per diventare re del mondo. Cioè, che cazzo, cosa vuol dire? Che cosa vuol, come lo contrapponi all'altra metà della moneta, la cazzata della moneta. Sì, il mio Yami è un paramiscia, certo. L'ha detto lui, il maestro.
fact, the title for King of the Pirates may be the King of the World in the world that Blackbeard wants to create, since it'll be a world of piracy and criminals. There won't be any world government, so that would make Blackbeard the ruler over all, unless someone else can defeat him. Another reason I believe Blackbeard wants to become the next ruler of the world is because he's brought up how he feels like he has the power to control the whole world. He also brings up how he's invincible and the greatest to ever do it. With this amount of narcissism and power backing it up, I believe it shows this is what he wanted all along. Now going back to what he said at Marineford, this speech also...
Cioè, in 6 minuti, quello che lui ha detto che Barbanera è brutto e cattivo. Cioè, questo sta dicendo.
proves that he wants this dream world.
Cioè, perfino Doflamingo, che voleva diventare re dei pirati, come ci diceva Monet, aveva un gioco dietro. Cioè, la sua infanzia, il suo background aveva un valore per farci capire quale fosse il suo vero scopo. Cioè, tornare a Marijois e riprendere quello che gli è stato tolto dai draghi celesti e governare anche su di loro, perché doveva vendicarsi di quello che lui aveva subito e affrontato da bambino. Cioè, che non è il re del mondo. E poi che cazzo fai?
For eternity, because he says the line, this world's future has been decided. Yes, from now on, this is my age. Notice how he says the world's future has been decided. He believes that he and his age has the whole world's future or fate in his hands. To have the whole world's future, you can't just have power, but also an enduring rulership for eternity. Once you die, your fate ends, but the world's fate continues to go on. The world's fate has to be an eternal thing because there is a never ending of days or time. This is also interesting considering the fact that the world's fate may actually be revolved around Luffy and not Blackbeard. Luffy seems to be the one who is bringing the dawn since he is the sun god. If you've seen my last part in this God Valley series, I bring up how I believe that Law is the moon god. I believe that he and Luffy were brought to Wano since they are sun and moon gods. I also...
Ah, si collega con l'altra cosa della settimana scorsa. Si collega, giustamente, dice Megar, come si diventa del mondo se il mondo è governato dal caos? Serve il libretto di istruzioni, ovviamente. Mamma mia. Mamma mia. Mamma mia.
How I believe the will of D means the will of the dawn, because for centuries upon centuries, the D clan have been inheriting each other's wills until the dawn arrives. I believe that when the dawn comes, there will no longer be a D clan because it will no longer be necessary since they already brought the dawn to the world. So with all this being said, what even is the dawn? Well, wouldn't the dawn be when the celestial dragons are defeated and when the truth is exposed to the whole world? Also, what even is the dawn in
È meraviglioso. La tizia che sta cagando. Quanto è dura.
literal terms? Well, there's two main definitions, and I believe that both define exactly what the dawn is in One Piece 2. The first definition is the first appearance of light in the sky before sun.
Ma scusatemi, il titolo è Lo è morto. Finalmente conosciamo il sogno di Barbanera e ragazzi è disturbante. Emotional. E quindi essere re del mondo è disturbante. Per me, vi dico dove vuole andare a parare. Adesso lui dirà che Lo è l'altra faccia della medaglia e quindi lui vorrà rubare il frutto Ope Ope per diventare immortale. Che è quello che voleva fare Doflamingo, no?
Right. Now, what does this have to do with
Vediamo.
One Piece? Well, this has to do with exactly what will happen in the dawn of One Piece, because at the time when the first appearance of light comes, there's still darkness from the night, the moon is still visible, and
Comunque non ho capito perché è arrivato all'alba in questo momento. Cioè non ho capito come
sun's light is first shown. This is right before sunrise, which shows that Luffy, or the sun god, isn't the only important figure that will bring the dawn to the world, since there's a bit of sunlight, a bit of the moon, and a bit of the night's darkness at the dawn of the day. In One Piece, there will be the light of Luffy the sun god, the moon god Law, and the darkness of Blackbeard, who will bring the dawn to the world. This is why Oda chose those three to be the new and final generation of people with the will of D. He chose to have the guy who represents darkness, the guy who represents the moon, and the guy that represents the sun to be the most important worst generation and will of D members.
Perfetto.
It is my belief that these three will be the ones to fight and defeat Emu and the Celestial Dragons. The reason for this is because back in Lost Flashback, Warzone told him that to be the
Aspetta.
most important worst generation and will of D members. It is my belief that these three will be the ones to fight and
Mia convinzione che questi tre saranno quelli che combatteranno e sconfiggeranno Him. Alleanza. Alleanza.
the Celestial Dragons. The reason for this is because back in Lost Flashback, Warzone told him that those with the will of D are the direct enemies of the gods, and that their people's goal is the very destruction of the world. This is the same destruction of the world that Whitebeard was talking about, and
Aspetta. La striscia sopra questa immagine che lui sta mostrando adesso c'è Newgate che gli dice non sarai tu, Teach, a portare la volontà di Roger, che poi era la volontà poi del Joy Boy, no? In antecedenza. Vabbè.
also Odin. Another destiny of Blackbeard's may not only be to defeat the Celestial Dragons, but to destroy the world, literally. I believe he will literally destroy the world with the power to destroy the world, along with the other Will of D members. Odin claims that at the One Piece, he found out that there will be a massive war, terrible enough to split the seas themselves. In other
Che c'è la musica dei Pirati dei Caraibi sotto?
words, in another 20 years, the primary figures of this great war will muscle their way into the new world. So we already know that the primary figures of the great war that is coming muscled their way into the new world when Blackbeard, Luffy, and Law went into the new world. So now that we
Certo.
already got this part of his prediction right, what
Certo, perché Oda aveva predetto che sarebbe arrivato Barbanera, no? Perché Barbanera è appena entrato nel nuovo mondo ed è venuto a Wano a sconfiggere Kaido. Pensaci.
did he mean by a war so massive that it will split the seas? Well, I believe that it means in this war, the red line will be destroyed, and when it comes down, the seas will be split. When the red line is brought down, it is literally destroying the old world to make a new one with no red line or nothing dividing the world and oceans. The all blue will most likely
Io penso che a forza di dire sta cosa della red line, che anch'io credo, perché comunque è una cosa molto palese che possa andare così. Cioè io credo che Oda alla fine si romperà talmente il cazzo di sentire sta roba della red line che alla fine la line rimane lì, imbruttente, e non è vero niente. Così impariamo a rompere il cazzo con sta cosa della red line.
come, and other things as well. So now, how will Luffy, Blackbeard, and Law destroy the red line? Well, it is to my belief
Ma perché Barbanera deve... Perché deve allearsi alla persona che più al mondo lo detesta? Perché? Perché? Ditemelo voi, perché? 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 Perché?
that they will use their devil fruits to do so. I also believe that the ancient weapons will help out with this as well, since they are labeled as having the power to destroy the world. Okay, so now that you understand that I believe these three are the ones who will literally destroy the world and bring the dawn, let's take a look at the second definition of dawn. The second definition of dawn is the beginning of a period of time, especially one considered favorable. So the beginning of a new era will happen after the celestial dragons are defeated and after the red line is destroyed, or in other words, a dawn will come. Okay, so now the real question is, which era? After Emu is exposed and
Dopo che l'Emu è stato smascherato. Io non so se voi avete presente questa cosa. La guerra degli Emu. È importante. La guerra degli Emu è un evento che si è verificato, ovviamente, in Australia. Ora vi leggo. La guerra degli Emu fu un'operazione militare contro la fauna selvatica nociva svoltasi in Australia durante l'ultima parte del 1932, dal 2 novembre al 10 dicembre, in risposta alle preoccupazioni nutrite dall'opinione pubblica nei confronti del considerevole numero di emu riversatisi senza controllo nel distretto di Campione, nell'Australia occidentale. Il tentativo di limitare la popolazione degli emu, un uccello australiano di grosse dimensioni, incapace di volare, vide l'impiego di soldati armati di mitragliatrici, fatto che portò i media a riferirsi a tale operazione adottando il termine di guerra degli emu. Nonostante il gran numero degli emu uccisi, gli emu persistettero e continuarono a distruggere le colture più riprese durante gli anni 30 e 40. Cioè, questo è ciò che accadrà chiaramente nella battaglia contro Im. La battaglia degli emu. Pensateci.
defeated. Will it be Luffy's era or Blackbeard's? Since we know that their destiny is to defeat the celestial dragons and destroy the world, I don't see any of the three dying to a celestial dragon.
Quanto è brutto quello disegnato lì a destra. Sembra uscito da Toy Story. Toy Story lo.
Or during their fight with the celestial dragons. After the throne of Emu is destroyed, someone else might take it. This is where I start to believe that Luffy's final fight will not be with Emu, but actually Blackbeard, as we know that Blackbeard's ultimate goal is to take the throne of the world, as he says excitedly in chapter 925 that the mighty battle for supremacy over the throne has already begun. This battle has officially started, and it will officially end when Luffy defeats Blackbeard and all of those in his way of being Pirate King. To get the throne of the world and in the way that Blackbeard wants it, he will not only need to defeat Emu, but he'll also have to force Law to perform the Eternal Youth Operation on with Blackbeard.
Eccolo! 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 L'operazione dell'eterna giovinezza, ovviamente.
Killing Law has to do with the real Blackbeard, whom Teach seems to be based off of. This connection is pretty crazy, so prepare to be mind blown. So the real Blackbeard has arguably the most...
Certo, perché chiaramente, siccome il simbolo del vero Barbanera c'era il cuoricino, no? Era tutto scritto. Era tutto scritto. Era tutto scritto nella storia.
and famous Jolly Roger in the world. Take a look at it and what do you see? Well,
Io vedo un culo che scorreggia.
personally see a devil or demon stabbing a heart. So isn't it almost like the flag is representing some demon killing a heart? And now you may ask, well, what does this have to do with One
Perché sta cazzo di immagine?
Piece? Well, it has to do with One Piece because Oda may use it as a reference for Blackbeard killing the captain of the Heart Pirates. Not only is Law the captain of the Heart Pirates, but he's overall just represented by a heart. I mean, he has a heart tattoo on his chest. He ate a devil fruit that's shaped like a heart. He was saved and inspired by Corazon, whose name means heart in Spanish. And lastly, the coat that he wears has the name of Corazon on it, which again means heart in Spanish. So Oda used the real Blackbeard's Jolly Roger as a reference or inspiration
Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes.
for his pirate story. He tends to use a lot of things, so I wouldn't be surprised if he used this as well. So now that we know how Blackbeard will most likely become immortal, let's
Probabilmente diventerà immortale. Probabilmente Mood of Life. Attenzione.
talk about how this is connected with another person who also seems to be immortal. Before we do that though, remember to like and subscribe if you like
Certo.
one thing that I've said so far. So if Lost Devil Fruit actually is the fruit from a moon god, wouldn't that explain a lot how Emu became immortal? We know one thing
Spiegherebbe a là come Emo è diventato immortale.
for sure, which
Ma chi cazzo ha mai detto che Im è immortale? Chi l'ha mai detto che Im è immortale? Nessuno. Poi magari è vero, mi ripeto. Potrei fare anche le emoji, poi magari è vero. Ma non l'ha mai detto nessuno che è immortale. Sono tutte ipotesi, tutte cose che la gente dà per scontato, ma non l'ha mai detto nessuno che Im sia immortale. Magari c'ha 5 anni. Che cazzo ne sappiamo noi? Che cazzo ne sappiamo noi? Im è immortale. Manco Gesù Cristo era immortale. È risuscitato dopo. Cioè, di che cosa stiamo parlando?
which is that Whitebeard claims that Lunarians used to live atop the Red Line, where Maurizua is placed. Assuming that Lunarians were extinguished by the celestial dragons in Emu, wouldn't it make sense that Emu forced one of them to make a
Certo,
revival?
certo, è Im ortale. Ortaggio, Im ortaggio. I mortacci sua, i mortacci. Porca troia.
Wouldn't it also make sense that the treasure of Maurizua is there because a former Lunarian left it there? A Lunarian may have used the powers of the Op-Up fruit to place the sacred treasure of Maurizua in the Red Line. Maybe that's why Pangaea Castle is located there, because they want to be right on where the treasure is located, so they can't lose it or let someone else obtain it. Maybe if a Lunarian used Lost Fruit to place the treasure there, that's also why Lost Devil Fruit, or the Devil Fruit of a Moon God, is the only thing that can allow someone to obtain this treasure. It almost seems that Emu and the present gods of the world had to wipe out and destroy the old kingdom of gods to make their new kingdom of gods. Wouldn't it also make sense that Kaido named King King because the moon god
Non avrebbe senso che Kaido chiamasse King King, perché gli dei della
gods might be
luna
responsible for making people
potrebbero essere responsabili di rendere le
kings? It
persone
could either
re.
be
Cazzo stai dicendo? Che cazzo di discorso è? Cioè, la ciurma di Kaido è basata sulle carte da gioco da poker. Porca sì.
be this, or the fact that a Lunarian was once the king of the world, but there definitely seems to be some sort of connection with Lunarians and Emu. If there is a connection with Lunarians and Emu, it would tie in very well with one of the most famous Japanese stories, which is called The Tale of the Bamboo Cutter, famously known for its main character Kaguya, the princess from the moon. In this story, there seems to be many parallels with Emu. First off, there are 5 nobles that are trying to marry Kaguya, just like how in One Piece, there's 5 elders who work for Emu. Next,
Aspetta, dice questa storia giapponese, dice ci sono 5 nobili
nobles that are trying to marry
che stanno cercando di sposare Kaguya, questa principessa della luna. Proprio
like how in One Piece,
come in
there's
un
5
One Piece ci sono
elders
5
who
anziani che lavorano per Im. Quindi sposare una persona significa lavorare per lei, no? Non riuscirò mai a finire per le 19.
Next, Kaguya came from the moon, kind of like how Emu
Kaguya viene dalla luna, un po' come Imu.
may have came from the moon.
Potrebbe essere venuto dalla luna. Così. Siccome piace a me, viene dalla luna.
Or at least from space,
O almeno dallo spazio.
given their names celestial
Dato il loro nome di aghi
dragons,
celesti,
making it seem
che
as if
fanno
they came from
sembrare
space.
come se provenissero dallo spazio. Ah, e quindi il fatto che i lunari li hanno sterminati non c'entra niente, no? No, non è importante. Non è importante.
Another connection
Un altro
that
collegamento è quando Kaguya è
went to the
andata
moon, she took the
sulla
potion
luna,
of immortality,
ha preso la pozione di immortalità.
kind of like how an Emu
Un po' come quando Imu, attenzione, è
the
andato
moon gods
sugli dei della luna
eternal youth
e ha fatto l'operazione di eterna giovinezza. Ma che cosa sta dicendo? Ma che cosa sta dicendo? Che cosa sta dicendo? Ma che cosa sta dicendo?
inspiration. Another parallel is somewhat
Un altro, attenzione, un altro parallelo.
actually flipped in One Piece, but it seems to still work because it's the same thing as in One Piece, just the opposite. So the fourth connection would be that Kaguya ended up losing all
Kaguya ha finito per
her
perdere
memory. In
tutta la sua memoria. Attenzione. Attenzione.
One Piece, I'm not quite sure if
Non ne sono del tutto sicuro. Signor Gesù, proteggimi, proteggimi dal male. Non ne sono del tutto sicuro.
Emu lost her memory or not.
Ma perso. Non ce la faccio. Non ce la posso. Non ne sono del tutto sicuro. Non ne sono del tutto sicuro. Ma Ime ha perso la memoria. Perché hai perso la memoria anche tu? Ma che cazzo. Cosa stiamo vedendo?
But we do know that she erased everyone else's memory. The last
Ma sappiamo che ha cancellato la memoria di tutti gli altri. Ma
connection seems to be a bit.
Ma dove? Ma dove? In quale manga? In quale fumetto? In quale fumetto? In quale fumetto? Ma che cosa sta?
More of a stretch, but still represents Emu in a way through multiple connections. In the story, Kaguya wore a feathered cloak as she went back to the moon.
Attenzione, nella storia Kaguya indossava un mantello di piume mentre tornava
While
sulla luna.
forgetting her memory. So in One Piece terms, this may parallel Doflamingo as he wears a feathered cloak.
Mi sento male. Mi sento malissimo. Questo potrebbe essere un parallelo a Doflamingo che indossa un mantello piumato. Quindi Doflamingo è Im.
And as he erases people's memories,
E
with the
mentre
powers of sugar, we
cancelli i ricordi con i poteri di Sugar,
all know how Doflamingo
sappiamo tutti come Doflamingo è
parallels Emu,
parallelo
the
Im.
celestial dragon that rules Dressrosa, just like how Emu rules the world. He
Proprio come Im governa il
tricked the
mondo.
people by taking away their memories. Emu
Ha ingannato le persone portando via i loro ricordi.
tricked the world by erasing
Im ha ingannato il
the
mondo
Void Century.
cancellando il secolo vuoto. Madonna. No, questo video... Non so se riusciamo a vederne 3, ragazzi, questo video qua è devastante.
Dofi wanted the sacred treasure of Marijoa. Emu has it. Dofi wanted lost fruit to
Il segreto della marijuana.
also be immortal, and then Emu is immortal. I think everyone understands how Dofi represents Emu in a way, and the feathered cloak may be yet another clue from Oda about Emu's connection to Kaguya. Basically, if these connections are actual inspirations for Oda, it may prove that Emu did end up getting her immortality from a moon god. Some more parallels and hints with Emu and the celestial dragons could be from Drum Island, Uteron State,
Cazzo. Aspetta.
and the celestial dragon.
Im e gli aghi celesti potrebbero provenire da Mi sento malissimo. Mi sento malissimo. Mi sento malissimo. Ma perché? 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 Sono le renne. Non ce la posso fare, ragazzi, non ci arrivo. Non riesco ad andare avanti. Sembrano dei tamburi ghiacciati. Non riesco ad andare avanti. Mi serve no, devo bere, giuro, sto malissimo. Mamma mia. Non ce la faccio. Non ce la faccio. Non ce la faccio. Ho paura a proseguire. Non ce la faccio. Il vero Babbo Natale.
Island. Uteron states that both Drum Island and Marijoa are parallels. First off, the chapter that Imu's name
Che... Perché Dram e Marijoa sono paralleli. Ha detto. Vediamo.
is introduced, and when we see Imu sit on the throne is 908, which in Japanese the kanji can be read as ku.
Questa roba. La roba di Yutero.
Rei Ha, just like Dr. Kureha in Drum Island. Dr. Kureha also symbolizes Imu since she's a life-expanding woman who lives in the Drum Island castle, just like how Imu may have expanded her lifespan and lives in Pangaea Castle. Something else that connects Imu with Kureha is that Imu in Japanese can be read as Buddha. The only two characters in One Piece that are known for the Buddha are symbolized by the maple leaf. Now you may say, well, what does this have to do with Dr. Kureha? Well, because Dr. Kureha in Japanese literally means maple leaves. Another parallel in this arc.
Queste sono le stesse fregnacce che diceva Wara.
That the 20 doctors of the Drum Island Kingdom could symbolize the 20 royal
Cioè, loro si copiano il contenuto l'uno con l'altro. Loro sono veramente una cosca di criminali. Cioè, loro sono veramente una gang, un'associazione a delinquere.
families of celestial dragons. So basically, if the Drum Island Kingdom symbolizes Marijoa, then Kingdom symbolizes Marijoa, then I believe the arc foreshadows and symbolizes the ending of One Piece. In case you forgot, in Drum Island, Blackbeard comes in and destroys the kingdom. Dalton says how the citizens say how Blackbeard's destruction actually may have been for the better, since Wapol left the country because of this. So maybe this foreshadows how Blackbeard would destroy Marijoa and the Celestial Dragons, and how even though Blackbeard is a villain, what he did may actually be better for the citizens of the world, since most people hate and are terrified of the Celestial Dragons. Now why would Blackbeard even be at Drum Island? Every single thing that he does seems to be part of some great master plan, and him going to Drum Island and destroying their kingdom doesn't make much sense unless there was a reason for him to do it. Well, what if this reason was that he was trying to find the secrets of immortality, life expansion, or something that can heal any disease, even death? The Drum Kingdom is known for being the kingdom of doctors. Maybe Blackbeard thought that they would have some sort of leads to immortality, or could have even had the secrets itself. Dr. Kureha and her everlasting age abilities could have definitely been useful for what he was looking for, but he may have not even found her because she's secretive and hides away from the public. Also, maybe Blackbeard also heard the rumor of the cherry blossoms and wanted to find something about them in Drum Island. If the cherry blossoms could heal any disease, then maybe they can even cure the disease in which everyone is born with, which is aging. Theoretically, if the cherry blossoms can cure anything, then they may even be able to prevent death itself. Blackbeard may have searched for any information on any of these subjects while at Drum Island. So now, continuing with Blackbeard and Emu, there are some definite parallels that
Ma non è ancora finita. Io non ce la faccio più. Io non ce la faccio più. Non ce la faccio più. Sono devastato. Cioè, non ce la posso fare.
involve what may have happened with Emu back in the Void Century and with what Blackbeard may end up doing, just like how Emu killed and destroyed the kingdom of...
Grazie, Icek. Grazie. Ho paura che siano una... Sono una setta. Sono una setta. Sono un'associazione a delinquere. Sono qualcosa di...
gods on top of the red
Ti mangiano l'anima.
and then achieved her immortality from a moon god, which led to her rulership of the world and her era. Maybe Blackbeard will do, or is planning to do, a similar thing. Blackbeard may, or at least might be planning, to destroy a kingdom of gods on top of the red line, achieve his immortality from a moon god or moon god fruit, and then become the king and ruler of the world. If Blackbeard ruled the world, it would be a world of darkness, just like it was with Emu. The 800-year reign of celestial dragons seems to be symbolized.
Quindi se ti decidi di diventare del mondo non cambia niente, no? Che cazzo c'è dietro l'asylum del Joker? Il manicomio del Joker.
As the night, with no sun, no moon, and no dawn. Just like how if Blackbeard ruled, there would be no sun god, no moon god, and no dawn. This leads me to my next point, which is what will really happen with Blackbeard in the
Attenzione,
ending.
siamo arrivati al finale.
Basically, I believe the whole story of One Piece is symbolized by the celestial rotation of the earth and sun. It is basically symbolizing each day. I believe the ancient kingdom, which worshipped or was ruled by the sun god, was symbolized as the daytime or as noon. It was the day because the sun was still out and shining. After this, the Void Century came. The Void Century is symbolized by the dusk because the sun is coming to an end. The pirate shanty, Bing Sake, proves this theory even more. There's a line in Bing Sake which is, "Evening comes, it's time to sound the drums." This shows that when the evening comes, or should I say, when the void century comes, it's time to sound the drums, because the ancient kingdom and Joy Boy have to go to war and sound the drums of liberation. The next lines in Bing Sake are, but steady men and never fear. Tomorrow's skies are always clear, so pound your feet and clap your hands till sunny days return. This is referring to the people that carry on the wills of the ancient kingdom, possibly the D-clan, for they should stay steady and never fear, even during the reign of Emu, which seems to be symbolized by the night of 800 years. The lines, tomorrow's skies are always clear, so
Tutta una sovralettura di robe.
pound your feet and clap your hands till sunny days return is referring to the reign of Luffy, the future pirate king. Once the sun god defeats everyone, the era of his will be symbolized as the next day. The dawn is the time frame from when the first appearance of light shows up, the first appearance of Luffy. After Luffy defeats everyone, it will no longer be the dawn, but instead it will be the day or the noon. So now you may ask, well, what does any of this have to do with Blackbeard? Well, I believe something that Blackbeard
Adesso te lo chiedi. Adesso te lo chiedi. C'entra tutto con Barbanera.
will do will be symbolized
Credo che qualcosa che farà Barbanera sarà
by a
simboleggiato
celestial event.
da un evento celeste. Crede.
Blackbeard forces law to
Lui crede sempre.
make him immortal. This event will be symbolized as an eclipse. Before I tell you why, let me first explain what a solar eclipse even is. A solar eclipse happens when the moon covers the sun. It's when
Cazzo, ci sta spiegando come funzionano le eclissi.
the moon, sun, and earth are all aligned. So basically, I believe this will symbolize what will happen in One Piece, because if Blackbeard kills Law and uses him, the moon god will get in the way of the sun god, and darkness will prevail momentarily. This will happen after the dawn, because in order for an eclipse to happen, the sun has to be fully out. This may be the beginning of the next day in One Piece, which will lead to Luffy having to defeat Blackbeard immediately after Emu. After Luffy defeats Blackbeard, the moon will no longer
Ma non erano alleati. Perché loro si alleano e poi Rufy chiaramente deve sconfiggere il suo alleato.
be
Certo.
in the way of the sun, and darkness or Blackbeard will not take over the world. This will be the era that Roger, Odin, and Joy Boy have been waiting for. The day where the light never stops shining. Something that may foreshadow this is chapter 545, which is titled To Sunshine and Freedom. In this chapter, Luffy and Blackbeard both lead the breakout of Impel Down, and the prisoners finally see the sunshine after ages of being locked up in prison. This may symbolize how Luffy and Blackbeard are both involved in the freedom of the world and in bringing the next day. I'm not exactly sure how Luffy will defeat Blackbeard after everything goes down, but I have a feeling that a guy that powerful and crazy can't stick around. I can see a situation where maybe Luffy defeats him, but I don't think Luffy will kill him because he never kills anyone. Maybe Blackbeard's ultimate defeat will
Quindi non lo uccide perché Rufy non uccide mai nessuno. Quindi la sconfitta finale di
be by
Barbanera
himself. He may
sarà da solo. si
ironically kill
accoltella.
himself with the overuse of devil
Può ironicamente uccidersi con l'uso eccessivo dei poteri del
powers
frutto
or
del
by something
diavolo.
insane.
O da qualcosa di
You even see
folle.
how
Così a caso.
Whitebeard tells him that his biggest weakness is his own overconfidence and carelessness. These may lead to the overall downfall of Blackbeard as he ultimately loses to himself. So now, with everything that I've now explained, this pretty much wraps up why I believe Blackbeard will kill Law and try to become the king of the world for eternity. Let me know all your thoughts and comments down below. Also, subscribe to the channel with the notifications turned on if you want to watch the next two parts to the Whole God Valley theory. Also, we talk in the Patreon about certain chapters, so if you're interested, the link will be in the description. Anyways, thanks a lot for watching.
Sto male io, ragazzi. io sto male. Sto malissimo. Sto malissimo. Sto sudando. Sto malissimo. Sto sudando, sto male. Sto veramente malissimo. Sto veramente male. E facciamoci più del male. Cioè, io non ho capito un cazzo di quello che ha detto. Comunque. Cioè, ha detto un mare di cagate. Una dopo l'altra. Una dopo l'altra. Vi mostro questa copertina. Già la copertina fa presagire cose belle. Adesso vediamo cosa ci riserva l'amico Plot Armor. Voi lo sapete che io sto veramente male. Probabilmente non ve lo immaginate, ma io in questo momento sono annichilito. Cioè io in questo momento vorrei soltanto andare a buttarmi sul divano e dormire. Sono devastato. Sono devastato. Siete pronti? Io no. Io no. Ostia, ho sbagliato. Eh, Aspetta, traduzione automatica, italiano. Dove sta? E schiaccia. Perché non funziona l'italiano? Oh, le... No. Perché sa? Che cazzo di... Questo è un complotto. Italiano. Oh, ce l'ha fatta. Velocità 1,25. Pronti via. Vediamo se qualcuno ha commentato. No, non c'è un commento di Ohara che approva.
With Kaido's defeat, fans of One Piece are speculating over just who may be able to challenge Luffy
Ma è Uroji che parla.
at this point. There are several prominent villains in play that can provide a strong fight.
Ah, vi leggo il titolo. Barbanera sacrifica Rufy e si prende tutto. Rufy contro Barbanera spiegato. Attenzione.
Suzuki is an impressive physical threat, thanks to his Magu Magu no Mi. The mysterious Imu may also prove to be a contender. While we have yet to see them fight in person, anyone who can level an entire kingdom should be taken seriously. One figure, however, stands above them both. He is Luffy's antithesis, the one with powers that directly mirror Gear 5th. He was introduced early in the story and has risen to prominence and power just as Luffy has.
Perché se il cazzo di video non è un recappone, non mi devi fare un recappone per allungare il video.
This man has been fighting powerful enemies for years now, and he's only grown stronger over time. Imu and Sakazuki have an orbital death ray and the might of the Marines backing them up, respectively. Either one of them could end up being our final antagonist. But if you're looking for a hyped up, exciting brawl, it is not even a contest. There is no character in One Piece
Però è forte, senti che hype dietro.
fight Luffy than Marshal D. Teach. A battle between the light of Nika and the darkness of the Yami Yami no Mi is inevitable at this point. In this video, we are going to be taking a look at how everyone's favorite cherry pie enthusiast will do squaring off against the Straw Hat Captain. We will go over their respective power sets, how the fight could play out, and what might go down afterwards. Let's get to it. Part 1. Stacking up. Following the end of Wano, it is easy to talk up Luffy as his unbeatable powerhouse. Gear 5 was one hell of a reveal, surprising everyone with Luffy gaining the power of a god. This was power the world government had been afraid of for centuries, and it left a strong impression. Our beloved captain came back from death stronger than ever, like some kind of shiny, bouncy messiah. He took down Kaido, the indestructible dragon tyrant who laid waste to every opponent in the series thus far. Luffy seems almighty at this point.
Questo ragazzi, questo disegno... Oh, aspetta, Questo disegno è il disegno di Leonardo Verghella, che gliel'hanno preso su Instagram e ha fatto il giro del mondo. Questo disegno di Leonardo. Pazzesco.
Seems almighty at this point. Could any force in the series stack up to the awakened Nika fruit? Well, yes. When you get into it, Luffy isn't at some unreachable peak of might, stronger than everyone around him. Sure, he beat Kaido and that was impressive. But Kaido has never been as invulnerable as his reputation suggested. The tyrant of Wano fought Big Mom more than once, got turned away by Shanks during Marineford, and was on the losing side at God Valley. He is strong, even for a Yonko, but not that far beyond his peers. Even Big Mom has shown herself to be just as hard to kill when forced on the defensive. Further, the idea that the Yonko are these untouchable legends in a weight class of their own isn't as true as you might think. The most extended fight we've seen from an emperor other than Kaido would be Whitebeard during the Battle of Marineford. While he was easily the strongest single combatant there, Edward Newgate wasn't this completely Superman figure. We saw him fight Admiral Akainu, and the two seemed pretty evenly matched.
30.000
Neither was able to
coglioni.
solidly incapacitate the other, and Akainu's never been shown as that far above his fellows. The Admirals and Yonko seemed pretty evenly matched, and Blackbeard was up there with them even prior to the timestamp. Before he took any Devil Fruit, Blackbeard was able to scar Shanks badly. The circumstances of this fight are still unknown, but Shanks is not happy about it. Even over a decade later, Blackbeard remained a concern for him, and that was before events at Marineford. Granted, the early part of that fight isn't Teach's finest moment. He was struggling against an injured Whitebeard, unable to match his pure strength. However, this was more overconfidence than weakness. Teach was going into that fight thinking the Yami Yami no Mi nullification would be enough to render Whitebeard powerless.
Che strapalle. Cioè, stai facendo il riassunto. Ma non lo voglio sapere, non mi interessa il riassunto a me adesso. Io voglio sapere che cosa succede. Lo spiegato. Forse sta spiegando la...
By this point, Although that is not to discount Luffy or his progress, it is a mark of how far he has come that our new Doi Boy can probably take on Teach. The light of Nika is the one force in the setting that really stands a chance against the Yami Yami no Mi's black hole. They are pretty evenly matched. Still, Teach has the edge in their fight. Brand New has given him a bounty almost a full billion above Luffy's, and there is good reason for it. Teach still has room to grow. To the best of our knowledge, neither of his devil fruit abilities have been awakened. If they were, the effects would be extremely worrying.
Vediamo.
Blackbeard is already on par with Luffy and seems set to grow stronger. If pushed in a dramatic confrontation, we could see a boost to either side of Teach's power set. Also, if he is able to consume a third fruit, he can incorporate even more abilities into his arsenal.
Terzo frutto, giusto perché... Grazie Simo. No, non è il mio compleanno oggi, è la morte.
And given the 3 skulls Teach has on his Jolly Roger, this seems at least a likely possibility. In contrast to Teach, Luffy's abilities may have plateaued. We have seen no signs of a post-awakening state to Devil Fruit powers, so this is likely as far as they go. That means he is running out of room to expand his series of gears. He has had Haki training from Rayleigh, but Blackbeard's command of Haki has grown since the time skip. Luffy would likely need Gear 6 to gain a clear advantage over Teach, and there's no sign of that coming.
Ha bisogno del Gear 6 per sconfiggere Teach. Rufy che dice questo è il mio massimo, no? Però no. No.
And there's no sign of that coming. He may be able to experiment with the Nika state, refining his form and doing new things with it. However, that is likely to be closer to the various Gear 4 forms and a new gear. With what we know now, Luffy's past forms may be partial awakenings of his fruit. With the revelation that the Gomu Gomu no Mi was a mythical Zoan fruit, each gear seems less like a unique thing. Instead, they're each a step forward towards the full Nika transformation. We even have an example to compare it to.
Mika.
Chopper. He is also in a version of the Hito Hito no Mi and has a wide variety of forms. If the model Nigo works similarly to Chopper's fruit, Year 5th may be his upper limit, his equivalent to Monster Point. This gives Teach a potential edge. He has more room to push his strength. Yet this wouldn't be the first fight where Luffy was the underdog. He has been battling gods, warlords, and legendary pirates at...
Sto video è intollerabile. È intollerabile sto video. No, ragazzi, io lo salto. È noioso
all the terms of their fight.
come una visita dall'urologo.
Takes what he wants from whoever he wants, not caring about the cost. He will backstab the Whitebeard Pirates, the War government.
C'è un recappone inutile.
If he was working on this plan when he first joined the Whitebeard Pirates, he had it in mind since he was a child. We can't peace. Even if he could guarantee he would eliminate Luffy, there are other contenders to the Pirate King throne.
Ma vaffanculo, va. Va bene, veniamo a Wara. Bocciato. È proprio un plot armor. Proprio schifo. Andiamo a Wara. Andiamo a Wara che è meglio. No, è più indecente. È indecente, è noioso, lungo e puzzolente. Andiamo a Wara, che almeno ci divertiamo. Così chiudo il supplizio prima del tempo. Siete pronti? No, clickbait è pazzesco. 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 Via. Vediamo Wara cosa ci dice. Che bello Teach con gli occhi azzurri. Vero principe azzurro. La copertina con 3 teste era che c'ha 3 frutti, probabilmente. La solita stronzata che ci propinano tutti quanti da tipo 20 anni.
The One Piece manga just revealed something that will change the course of the story like nothing has probably since
Che bella la voce del maestro.
Ace's battle with Blackbeard that led to the war at Marineford. And that's because Eiichiro Oda has just kicked off a battle between Trafalgar D. Water Law and, you guessed it, Blackbeard. Again. A development I honestly think no one had on their radar, especially since we just saw Marshall D. Teach being chased off Amazon Lily by Rayleigh and Boa Hancock. Also kidnapping Luffy's marine friend Kobe as a little souvenir in the process. And now he has ambushed Law, another one of Luffy's friends who was on his way to the next island after leaving Wano. Blackbeard has been obsessed with...
Vi ricordo, vi leggo il titolo. It's Insane, che quindi è folle, che Oda ha rivelato l'obiettivo di Barbanera. Quindi lui sa qual è l'obiettivo di Barbanera. C'hai ragione Stefano. Sentire Wara è come tornare a casa dopo un lungo viaggio. È vero.
On as many devil fruits and as many poneglyphs as possible in a very, very short time.
Cazzo l'ha detto sta roba. Io non tollero quando ci inventano. Cioè, tu puoi dire, secondo me, Barbanera è ossessionato dall'idea di mettere le mani su quanti frutti possibili e sui poneglyph il più breve possibile. Cioè, secondo te, lo puoi ipotizzare, lo puoi essere, cioè, è un'ipotesi, giustamente puoi dire il cazzo che vuoi. Ma non puoi darlo come verità, che non l'ha detto mai nessuno. Porca puttana.
in a very, very short time. We know this because while he and Law are preparing to clash, it seems that Aokiji, who has teamed up with Blackbeard for yet unexplained reasons, has invaded Big Mom's territory and has not only taken her poneglyph, but seemingly
Vedete cosa vi ho appena detto? E non solo abbia preso il suo poneglyph, ma chi cazzo l'ha detto? Non sai manco se è Aokiji. Cioè, non sai né se è Aokiji, poi lo puoi pensare ovviamente, gli indizi sono tanti, è quasi scontato. Come puoi dire che abbia preso il poneglyph? Cioè, ieri sera abbiamo detto, nel caso in cui, lo vedremo successivamente, potremmo pensare che Teach ne abbia quantomeno uno. Non lo puoi sapere.
Few people in the world who can actually decipher the road poneglyphs and lead Blackbeard to Laugh Tale before Luffy. And now, should he successfully defeat Law, Teach has the chance to not only add Kaido's poneglyph on top of that, but also get his hands on Law's legendary Devil Fruit powers that include the Eternal Youth Surge.
Anche lui. Anche lui.
That Doflamingo wanted above anything else. So has Aokiji actually become Luffy's enemy now? Is there any chance that Law could somehow win this fight? And what would it mean for Luffy and the story overall if he loses? Well, turns out we actually might know the answer to all of these. But first, a quick word from today's sponsor.
Lo sponsorone! Lo sponsorone! Lo sponsorone! Attenzione, questa è la cosa che aspettavo più di tutto. Lo sponsor. Lo sponsor. Meet Heroes. Cazzo è Mythic Heroes? Una puttanata sarà. Quanti soldi si fa quest'uomo, ragazzi? Quanti soldi si fa quest'uomo? Voglio farlo anch'io lo sponsorone. Voglio fare anch'io lo sponsorone. Contattatemi. Andatevi gli sponsor.
Heroes. Now for me,
Heroes.
This is one of the best idle gacha games out there right now. It has over 50 heroes to collect with a great variety of cyberpunk and cross-style art skins, weapons, and skills to build your own team. The story and lore are surprisingly fun, and I found that the gameplay overall has been strongly improved compared to similar games. However,
Che meraviglia. Che meraviglia.
By far most exciting feature is their AFK mode, because it allows you to auto-battle and play hands-free with just one tap. In other words, your team will simply start the next fight automatically using the strategy that you picked. That way, you can pile up great rewards with your team while doing something else. If you download the game now, you can get 120,000 diamonds at login, plus they're giving away Amazon gift cards for $100, $200, and even $300 for the top-ranked players. And everyone who uses the link in the description below will get Mythic Heroes gift packs worth $200.
Mi sponsorizza Crunchyroll.
So what are you waiting for? Go download Mythic Heroes and play right now. But now back to the video.
Guardalo che bello.
To understand why this chapter and Law's battle with Blackbeard is such a big deal, we have to take a closer look at Blackbeard's actions in the story so far and what his overall plan is. Because even though the story tries really hard to sell Teach as an impulsive and dangerous idiot, the truth, as you well know, is that Blackbeard is one of the most cunning characters in all of One Piece that has carefully and patiently planned to get where he is today. Luffy's biggest rival for the title of Pirate King, and right now I would say the top contender for reaching Laugh Tale first. Now, as you'll remember,
Chissà se usa la... anche stavolta.
Teach, who seems to be connected to and inspired by the legendary and infamous pirate Roxy Zebek, joined Whitebeard's crew right from the start in the hope to get his hands on the Yami Yami no Mi. According to him, the strongest devil fruit in existence that seems to have been the core piece in his plan to rise to the top of the pirate world. Once he got lucky and had the fruit in his reach, instead of stealing the fruit and getting away, he chose to murder his crewmate, well knowing that Ace would come after him. I mean, his goal goal right from the start, as we now know, was to get his hands on Whitebeard's earthquake powers as well, which is why he joined his crew in the first place. And so his goal for this phase of his plan was to start a war between the Marines and Whitebeard, well knowing that he doesn't have a chance against Whitebeard quite yet. Because despite his betrayal...
Sentite la musica ansiogena sotto che sale, lo sentite come pulsa, eh? Che ti deve far capire che c'è qualcosa che ti rivela, no? Ti rivela cos'è la cosa folle.
He still fears and respects the man. So he prepares everything for his big moment, a calculated gamble with high risk but also immense rewards. He makes sure to get on the good side of the world government, to become a warlord, and thus gain access to the high security prison Impel Down. Then he hands over Ace to the Marines, telling them about Ace's heritage, well knowing that the government would want to turn the execution of the pirate king's only son into a major publicity stunt. And of course, he also knows that Whitebeard would come to save his son no matter what, because he used to be part of that same very family that he never really loved in the first place. Now, once the war had begun, Teach used the commotion to enter Impel Down unnoticed and grabbed some of the most powerful and infamous pirates locked away on level 6 into...
Meno male che ci siamo scammati il recappone dell'altro, perché stava facendo anche lui il recappone per arrivare chiaramente al minutaggio.
Commanding a quite formidable force, he grows confident enough that he will be able to see his plan through all the way to the end. He waits until both Marines and pirates are exhausted from the war, and then he sees his chance, swoops in, and even though he underestimated the power of a dying Whitebeard quite a bit...
Perché ci sono i sottotitoli? Cazzo è coreano?
He's still able to steal the Gura Gura no Mi and escape. Now,
The Gura Gura no Mi? Gura Gura no Mi?
with 3 essential pieces of his plan secure in his hands. 2 of the most powerful devil fruits in the world, a crew of monsters, and Whitebeard's vacant position amongst the Yonko. And so while Luffy and the Straw Hats are training during the time skip, Blackbeard starts the 3rd phase of his plan. He knows there are still people out there, very strong people, that are still capable enough to snuff out all of his ambitions, and that scares him. So he does what he does best, lay low and wait. While all the other Yonkos are being challenged by the members of the worst generation, Blackbeard is quite happy securing his position and getting his hands on as many...
Come possono 300.000 persone aver visto sta roba?
useful and, more importantly, powerful devil fruits as possible to boost his new crew even more. I mean, we've already seen that all of his commanders have eaten some truly frightening devil fruits, and 4 new ones are revealed by Oda in this chapter as well. Jesus Burgess has eaten the Riki Riki no Mi, giving him abnormal strength so he's easily able to lift an entire freaking mountain. Doc Q has the Shiku Shiku no Mi, literally the sick fruit, which is quite ironic in a way, as a doctor. He can infect people with sickness.
Perché? Perché è ironico che un dottore abbia mangiato il frutto delle malattie? Non è ironico, è giusto. Sfrutta le malattie per imbruttire gli altri. Se ti sputa ti fa venire i tumori.
As a doctor, he can infect people with sickness. An augur can teleport people using the warp ward fruit, and Doc Q's horse Stronger has eaten the mythical Pegasus zone fruit. Basically just gives him wings, I guess, because he's already a horse. But it definitely looks like the devil fruit phase of Teach's plan is now also complete, which now brings him into the final stage of this process that he needs to become Pirate King. Getting his hands on the 4 road poneglyphs and somehow finding a way to decipher their contents. And so for that, he has laid low and waited for the right moment. He was too scared to challenge either Big Mom or Kaido heads on, but now that they've been defeated by Luffy, Kid, and Law, and knowing that they would get their hands on Kaido's poneglyph, he was waiting in the waters around Wano and tracked down the one out of the 3 that arguably poses the smallest threat to him right now, and sadly that person is Law. And so Blackbeard attacks the submarine and forces Law to retreat to a nearby island where he
sta riassumendo il capitolo scorso.
can now engage him in a one-on-one battle that he is, I think, very confident he can easily win. And so it looks like while Luffy is learning more and more about the true nature of devil fruits from Dr. Vegapunk, Law, who's a doctor, might well get the chance to learn a lot more about Blackbeard's abnormal body. But even if Teach is able to defeat Law here and get his copy of Kaido's poneglyph, what about the remaining 3? Well, turns out he's been on the move for the rest of them all along. We've gotten these 3 covers in a row now that strongly suggest that Aokiji is in Whole Cake Island, Big Mom's territory, that after her defeat is pretty much defenseless. And also where we know another road poneglyph is hidden in this room. The first cover shows 2 mysterious figures appearing in town.
Che cos'è?
in this room. The first cover shows two mysterious figures appearing
Cos'è? Che cos'è? Per me è uno che sta facendo il dito medio. Cioè, è uno così. Cos'è sta roba? Che cos'è questa cosa? È Ima, c'ha ragione Francesco.
in town. The second is Chocolate Town, where Luffy first met Pudding,
Attenzione.
completely frozen over. And now we see Cracker, one of Big Mom's commanders.
Speravo che dicesse che la take ricordo che sembra un cazzo spezzato.
Frozen completely stiff. And it looks exactly like this here, where Aokiji froze Robin, or here, where he did the same with Luffy. And on top of that, Brûlé has
Esatto,
realized
Luca.
that Pudding has vanished as well. Big Mom's daughter of the Three-Eye tribe that allegedly, at least, can naturally decipher the inscriptions on the poneglyphs. And this, of course, shouts Blackbeard. Not only because it's the very same chapter as his attempt to get lost poneglyph, but also because of this panel right here, where one of the Gorosei reveals to us that Aokiji has apparently teamed up with Blackbeard, which still feels strange because, as we know from all these moments, Aokiji always seemed to be a good guy, even sympathizing with Luffy. In his youth, we see him here as a big admirer of Garp and his sense for what's truly just fair, representing a more gentle and human side of the Marines and the governments. He protected Robin, spared Luffy on Long Ring Island and during Marineford, and the last time we saw him, he saved his friend Smoker from being sliced into salami by Doflamingo. But on the other hand, it also very much looks like he's delivering a road poneglyph, a crucial piece of information to get Blackbeard closer to power, directly to him. So what's going on here? At first glance, you really have to wonder if Aokiji didn't actually just legitimately switch sides. Maybe he lost faith so much in the government after his battle with Akainu that he decided to tear it all down, even if it meant joining hands with Blackbeard. And to be completely fair, it's definitely a real possibility that absolutely would make for some really interesting plot down the line here. But I do think that it's not very likely. Oda has always portrayed Aokiji as a force of good on countless occasions, many of them where he didn't need to show any kindness. And he also doesn't really seem like the type of person who would hold a grudge or even be out for revenge against an organization that is full with lifelong friends of his. Just look at Punk Hazard, where he went out of his way to save Smoker from being killed. I don't think that's the type of person who would want Blackbeard out of all people to burn all of the Marines to the ground. There are three alternatives to Kuzan now having gone full Anakin Skywalker.
Cazzo combinato Anakin Skywalker. Per mezzo i coglioni Anakin. Cosa vuole?
First, and in my opinion, the most likely option is that he's still with the Marines as an undercover agent for the secret Marine unit
Sherlock.
that operates independently and, more importantly, without the knowledge of the government, which also explains why the Gorosei wouldn't know about it. Alternatively, he could also have teamed up with the Revolutionaries, a force that wants to take down the Celestial Dragons, but not the Marines themselves. Or he could be simply out there doing his own thing, gathering intel on Blackbeard independently and then delivering it to whoever he finds the most trustworthy at the end, which would then most likely be Luffy. But honestly, right now, it doesn't really matter whether Kuzan is a friend or an enemy or a spy, because he is still working with Blackbeard right now, and it looks like he will bring him not only a second poneglyph, but someone who can translate the ancient.
Mi sono distratto un secondo. Sembra che gli porta non solo un secondo poneglyph, quindi sta ancora ok.
Someone who can translate the ancient language written on it for Teach. That would have given him 2 road poneglyphs real quick, unless Law is able to actually win this fight somehow. But is that even possible? Let's look at the facts. Law has now a bounty of 3 billion.
Vediamo se adesso ci spiega se Law è in grado di battere Barbanera. Andiamo con il suo metodo scientifico.
For a reason. Now, while he teamed up with Kit to take down Big Mom, he is still one of the strongest pirates out there. Law not only has an incredibly versatile and powerful Devil Fruit ability, but maybe even more importantly, the brains to get the most out of it. Yes, Blackbeard is a real schemer, but so is Law. I mean, it's no coincidence that both of them were benefiting from the Rocky Port incident, which, by the way, Law orchestrated. He can absolutely match Teach when it comes to strategy and maneuvering, and since his Devil Fruit allows him teleportation as well, he could get close to Blackbeard without giving him the chance to nullify his powers. His Gamma Knife attack was one of the key points in bringing down Big Mom, and since he has awakened his Devil Fruit now, it's more powerful than ever. Law also has an incredibly... high level of understanding of hockey, confirming something in this chapter that so far we've only speculated. Powerful hockey allows the nullification of devil fruit powers, which would be a real game changer against Blackbeard here as well. Now, Teach, on the other hand, is just ridiculously overpowered at this point. Not only did he easily defeat Ace with his darkness fruit, which power you can see in any of those panels right here, but now wielding Whitebeard's Gura Gura no Mi, he has maybe the strongest offensive power in the world as well. I mean, really, just look at what Whitebeard did to the ocean with it. Wheesh. And on top of that, Blackbeard has Doc Q with him, while Law's crew still very much has to prove their worth. I mean, they didn't exactly shine all too much during the raid on Onigashima. And so honestly, I think that even though Law would probably at least have a decent chance against most people in the world at this point, I just don't see him taking down Blackbeard. I mean, Teach has been built up throughout the story to be Luffy's main rival for the One Piece. He's bound to be one of the, if not the main villain of the story. He just kidnapped Kobe and was responsible for Ace's capture and ultimate death. So don't you think it would be a little bit anticlimactic if he could be stopped by Law? No offense to Law fans, but you get what I'm saying. Law beating Teach makes absolutely no sense, neither power-wise nor plot-wise. And so I only see two options for Law to not get captured, or even worse, killed by Blackbeard right here, right now, and hand over his poneglyph, plus possibly his devil fruit.
Ma in tutto ciò, siamo ormai alla fine, non c'è ancora detto perché è folle che Oda ha rivelato l'obiettivo di Teach. Qual è l'obiettivo di Teach? Non ce l'ha detto, come sempre.
I think Law is very much capable enough to try and get away from the fight and maybe even warn Luffy and co about his actual powers. Or, and I know this would be very dark, but listen, it's possible he could sacrifice himself and remotely perform the immortality surgery on Luffy to not have to perform it.
Ah, è l'intervento dell'immortalità sarà forse.
On Blackbeard. Now we don't actually know what the conditions for this ultimate ability are, so it is definitely an option, I'd say. Because the alternative, if Law actually ends up losing this fight, well, that would truly change the projective of the entire story. Here's why. Again, because it's important. Law has a road poneglyph. He has one of the most valuable devil fruits with the ability to make someone immortal, but there's also this. And you know where the third road poneglyph we know right now is? Exactly here. If Blackbeard captures Law, he will have two poneglyphs and a mink that could lead him to the third one hidden in the whale tree on Zou, the home of the minks. And so not only will that put Blackbeard on Luffy's level with 3 red stones and someone to decipher them, but he would have 2 of Luffy's best friends as hostages and leverage. I mean, Luffy was so traumatized by losing Ace that he wouldn't hesitate even a second to come for them if he finds out that Blackbeard might kill 2 of the people who are close to him. And Teach is smart enough to draw people he wants something from out.
Cioè, praticamente adesso deve sfruttare Beppo per andare da Zou. Che cazzo di senso ha? Aspetti Luffy, gli fotti pure quello, no?
With their loved ones.
Perché? Perché perdere tempo?
We already saw with Whitebeard and Ace. So knowing him, he might just wait for Luffy to get his hands on the 4th poneglyph and then bait him with Law and Kobe to take it away from him. And then with the Road to Love Tale, a crew of monsters and 2 or maybe even 3 powerful devil fruits, what really is going to stop?
Anche perché uno scontro tra Zunesha e Teach vince Zunesha. Cioè gli dà una sbordata addosso e vince lui.
From becoming Pirate King before Luffy. Now, where he will get a 3rd devil fruit and how he's able to eat more than 1 devil fruit.
Eccolo qua, dove otterrà il terzo frutto. Certo.
Is a whole different story. We don't know yet, but I do have a pretty interesting theory that you can watch right here next. The One Piece manga just revealed something.
Guardate lo sguardo beffardo finale.
Pretty interesting theory that you can watch right here next.
Guardate lo sguardo finale. Il segreto del successo di Barbanera. 3 persone. Chiaramente questo qua con tutti i denti è quello che compare in Impel Down, se vi ricordate. Perché in Impel Down compare quello con tra tutti i denti. Che è possibile, per Dio. Però. Che delusione, guarda. A parte lo spottone infernale a Mythic, cazzate, deludente. Meno male che c'è stato quell'altro. Quell'altro mi ha distrutto. Mi ha distrutto in ogni cellula del mio cervello. Ora ho bisogno di, non so, di una vacanza, di un viaggio. 4º video extra, tu sei folle. Sei pazzo, Aicek. Sei pazzo. Non posso, come cazzo fare? Tu vuoi che io muoia. No, non ce la posso fare. Non ce la posso, anche perché ho paura di aprire YouTube per trovare i video che mi spoilerò qualcosa. Non ce la posso fare assolutamente. Basta, 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 basta. Vi leggo un attimino, dai, vi leggo un attimino cosa avete scritto nel frattempo che vi ho brutalmente scammati. Comunque incredibile come ogni video di ogni canale One Piece sia scritto identico. Certo, ma dicono le stesse cose. Cioè si copiano gli script l'uno con l'altro. Si copiano veramente le cose l'uno con l'altro. È pazzesco. Pazzesco. Domanda fuori tema, ma un'altra live con una piena art o con il trono del Mord la vedremo? Ma se mai ci sarà occasione, volentieri, assolutamente. Appena Pudding vede il mattitrone di Rouge, addio Sanji, assolutamente. Assolutamente. Nel video in cui Teach rompe il muro con il Guragura, sulla parete ci sono dei cerchietti che sembrano delle ventose. Cosa è successo? Ah, c'è una brutta... È una cimice, ma è morta. Maledette cimici. Stavo leggendo, aspetta, c'è una parete, ci sono dei cerchietti che sembrano delle ventose. Vero polpo, attenzione. Ricordo che Brook fece un calcolo dei pony diff di Big Mom, quindi potrebbe Aokiji aver trovato già quello preso dai Mugi. No, beh, quello chiaramente. Ma è una possibilità che possa averli presi. Io non lo escludo assolutamente. Però lui lo dava già per assodato. Come dice giustamente Luca, non potreste chiedere a Oenzel, visto la gloriosa storia del Bike, chiaramente. Chiaramente. Quel parallelismo non è affatto male, visto che Oda spesso ripropone le stesse saghe in loop, ma magari con dettagli diversi. Non so di che cosa tu stessi facendo riferimento, però quello non... Aspetta, il parallelismo da Drama e Marijoa Pandia sta tutto. Anche l'albero di ciliegie c'è azione ad Adam. Ma a Marijoa non c'è Adam. Che stai dicendo? Ce ne sono tanti di alberi Adam. Te lo dice Franchi. Ci sono tanti alberi Adam che vengono poi tagliati e vengono fatte le navi. Quindi non c'è nessun Adam a Marijoa. Dovrebbe esserci Eve. Dovrebbe, ma non l'abbiamo mai vista. Quindi non sai neanche se c'è Eve a sto punto. Non diamo per scontate cose che non esistono, che non ha mai detto Oda. Possiamo pensarlo, ma darlo per scontato è l'errore più grosso che c'è in tutto, non in One Piece, in tutto quello che fate, non date mai per scontato niente. Andate a cercare se è vero, se non è vero. Quindi non diciamo cazzate, per cortesia. Bene, una cimice divo, è abbastanza. Quanto sarebbe infernale se Teach sfruttasse il potere di Doku per trasformare i suoi nemici in concubine? Sarebbe potentissimo. Potentissimo. Iz, no, non ho più finito di leggere, mi sono dimenticato. C'ho veramente 30.000 cose da fare. Essendo molto lungo, io quando vedo i muri di testo mi spavento. E il mio cervello dice no. Mi servirà, quando ho una mezz'ora da dedicarti, te la dedico volentieri. Però non l'ho più letto. Mi sono dimenticato. Brutalmente, non l'ho fatto con cattiveria. È che mi dimentico. Boh, basta, chiudo. Allora ringrazio Giovanni, Davide, Mattia, Aicek e Simone per essersi riabbonati e per la donazione di Aicek. Domani riprendiamo Hunter x Hunter. Vi ricordo che siamo finalmente arrivati nel Grid Island, quindi non vedo l'ora di vedere che cosa succede. Sono veramente incredibilmente in hype per questa cosa, molto più di One Piece in questo momento. E dice Aice che il mio sogno è un video del re con centinaia di migliaia di visualizzazioni in cui propone una teoria merdosa all'Ohara con l'afro in testa. Va bene, lo farò. E il titolo sarà One Piece cazzata. E mi invento cose e sparo cose a caso. Potrebbe essere divertente, tipo fare cose senza senso. Un'ora e mezza di video dove salto di palo in frasca. Va bene. Oh, grazie Giulio. Un anno, 12 mesi. Tanti auguri, il suo compleanno oggi. Era il suo compleanno oggi. Ma era anche di Simone il compleanno oggi. Sì, anche lui. Non avevo fatto caso ai 12 mesi. Quindi auguri e un buon compleanno. Ci vediamo domani. Siete bravi, divertitevi come sempre. E questa sera su Twitch dovrebbe esserci il Mala che vi racconta il finale di stagione di She-Hulk. Quindi se vi interessa la Marvel, c'è il Mala questa sera che vi aspetta. A domani, riprendetevi. Che la vita è il nemico. E Marijoa è dramma, pensateci.